come pretty far in the span of a lifetime, from the Wright brothers at Kitty Hawk to this $5 million monument to man's ingenuity. In less than 60 years, we've progressed from the iron horse to the great winged bird. The amazing thing is that the human elements, inexorably bound up in the machinery, have continued to keep pace. Around this relatively new mode of travel, we've built a frighteningly complex maze of services and supply. To us, buying an airplane ticket and boarding the plane and taking off into the wild blue is a pretty simple routine. But there's more here than meets the eye. St. Louis's Lambert Field is a $50 million facility. Lambert Field is a small city with a specialized purpose: to make air travel possible and comfortable. The operation carried on here at Lambert Field is a human one as complex as the aircraft it serves. The Lambert Field of today is a far cry from the Lambert Field of as recently as 1955. Until that time, the air needs of St. Louis were served by this terminal building, put into service in 1933. Then, it was the latest word in comfort, convenience, and safety for the resolute air traveler. The inevitable progress of aviation soon outmoded the facilities and made a new terminal a necessity. In March of 1956, St. Louis's Space Age Terminal was a reality. The new home of Lambert Field and its auxiliary facilities total up to a space age investment of over $8,600,000. The terminal is one of the most attractive, efficient air centers in the country. The complex of runways is one of the safest and best equipped. Over 10 million passengers and visitors pass through this building each year. More than 220,000 landings and takeoffs, commercial, private, and military, were logged last year. From here, St. Louisans range out over the entire globe. Lambert Field is big business, a big business operated at a profit by the city of St. Louis. Lambert Field began existence on Thanksgiving Day 1921, when the privately owned airport opened for business with 180 acres of real estate and 2 grass landing strips. In 1928, the city of St. Louis passed a $2 million bond issue, acquired an airport, and eventually created a facility conservatively valued today at $50 million. With 1,700 acres in its domain, Lambert St. Louis Municipal Airport is larger than many municipalities in St. Louis County. Because of its exposed and unique position, a part of the city of St. Louis surrounded on all sides by county municipalities, the airport has been involved in legal actions many times as the adjoining towns have attempted to annex this lucrative piece of real estate, thus far without success. The tenants of this strange city are the aircraft that use it, their crews and passengers. The 4 Lambert runways get a lot of use, a landing or takeoff every 2 minutes, averaged around the clock. The major clients, of course, are the 7 commercial passenger lines serving St. Louis: American Airlines, Braniff International Airways, Central Airlines, Delta, Eastern, TWA Transworld Airlines, and Ozark Airlines. Ozark is the only line serving St. Louis that calls Lambert Field home base. The company houses and maintains its aircraft in their hangar at the field. The commercial carriers have made this airport possible. 2 million passengers pass through Lambert Field each year. The lines rent their space from the city and pay landing fees based on the weight of the aircraft. A growing facet of flying today is the evolution of the private plane. More and more, the individual citizen is taking to the air in his own aircraft. The periphery of Lambert Field is dotted with small aircraft of all types and descriptions. The use of the small plane has grown to the point that last year, Lambert handled more private plane movements than commercial ones, 105,000 compared to 93,000. Private planes mean more than just little Pipers and Cessnas, however. Today, the executive aircraft is very much in evidence. Planes like these 2 Convairs, which began life as commercial airliners, and the venerable DC-3, which did likewise, have continued in service as transportation for the large businesses and industries located in the St. Louis area. The needs of the private and executive aircraft based at Lambert, 75 in all, are met by 4 companies called fixed base operators, which rent their hangars from the city. They are Interstate Airmotive, Remmert Werner, St. Louis Flying Service, and Young Aviation. The military is based at Lambert Field, too. The Army maintains an Air Force of its own, complete with its own hangar and complement of light planes and helicopters. The 131st Tactical Fighter Wing of the Missouri Air National Guard is here, too. The planes and men of the Air Guard, recently returned from active Air Force duty in France, are a unit instantly available to defend the St. Louis area in case of war. Across the field from the terminal building is another vital tenant at the airport, Missouri's largest single employer, McDonnell Aircraft, designers and builders of a long line of distinguished aircraft, the Mercury capsules, and the soon-to-be Gemini 2-man space capsule. Ozark Airlines maintains its fleet of Fairchild F-27s, Convairs, and DC-3s at Lambert. Here can be seen a sight seldom glimpsed: an airliner being processed through a complete overhaul. This maintenance, mandatory for all aircraft, is done regularly based on the number of flying hours. Planes going through this rebuilding are literally skinned down to the bone. Everything comes off. Everything is thoroughly checked, rebuilt, or replaced. Painstaking maintenance like this is what makes Ozark the proud possessor of a perfect safety record. Inside the terminal, the life of this unique skyport of a city goes on 24 hours a day. But all isn't hustle and bustle on the inside. There are those who must wait and pass the time somehow. Some sit, some talk, others look at commercial displays scattered throughout the terminal. If you're not interested in those, you can smoke, look out the window, or sleep. Others, however, don't have any trouble keeping themselves occupied. But there is plenty to do within the terminal. For those who are hungry, there is a choice of places to eat. This is the coffee house. Then, too, for those who like a view, the Kitty Hawk room faces directly on the field. But when you're in a hurry, there's always the stand-up snack bar for a meal on the run. For those men with a little more time to kill, there's the opportunity to get a shave and a haircut. The gift shop provides a ready source of books, magazines, and presents for the family. Letters and packages can be mailed out at the airport post office. For those feeling unwell, a well-equipped first aid room is available. The outgoing traveler can purchase flight insurance. The incoming one can equip himself with a rental car from a choice of agencies. He can even make a hotel reservation a few steps from the concourse. And the youngsters have the opportunity to take advantage of all the coin-operated fun they can finance. Literally, beneath all of the activity that meets the eye, there is another Lambert Field at work. The terminal building is made up of 4 levels. The general public sees only the upper 2. Below, on the 3rd level, is found a hard-working unit of the post office. It is the airmail facility, which handles all airmail originating, passing through, or destined for St. Louis. Much of the mail coming into the facility has to be broken down into different routings as the letters make their ways to the addressees. It is dumped from the sacks to be tossed again into other mail sacks marked with more specific destinations. This is quickly done. Airmail of a regional nature is sorted out and then tossed into slots. For these letters, the trip by air is over. The other mail, once retossed, is again marked, weighed, and prepared for another leg of aerial delivery. Within minutes of its arrival, much of the mail is again on its way. Just above the airmail facility is the baggage distribution center. When the traveler's bag has been weighed and tagged, it is placed on an endless belt that transports the outgoing luggage down to the 2nd level, where it is placed on carts for delivery to the individual aircraft. Certain of the new jetliners carry baggage in pods, cutting down on handling. Incoming baggage, sometimes called the curse of the air traveler, at Lambert sometimes reaches the baggage area before the passenger, a testimony to the speed of the baggage carts, or perhaps to the distance the passenger must walk from his jet gate. There's more in the cargo of most every commercial aircraft today than baggage, passengers, and airmail. Through the years, a sizable business has been developed in the carrying of freight. Housed in two modern terminals at Lambert are the air freight subsidiaries of the passenger carriers and other firms that are strictly freight in character. Today, everything is shipped by air, from flowers destined for Texas to motion picture film, shoes, cosmetics, and machine tool parts. All elements of a flight's payload are delicately timed to arrive for loading at the right moment. Another of those elements is the food that is essential to every flight. Here is an area as sensitive as the flight schedule. Woe to the plane that doesn't have enough food on board. Tucked away on the third level at Lambert is a complete flight kitchen where everything is prepared, from donuts to salads and steaks. This is food being cooked in truly astounding quantities and varieties. Each airline specifies its own selections, even down to the blending of the salad dressing, something that makes tossing together several hundred lunches or dinners at a time somewhat complicated. Naturally, the meals are prepared in advance. To make sure they stay warm, they're placed in the insulated heated compartments that will later be bodily transported to the waiting aircraft. Lambert Field's planes must be fed with fuel as well as food. This new terminal features a unique development in fueling technique. No tank trucks have to scurry up to aircraft here. Instead, fuel is piped to the aprons underground. All that has to be done is connect from the outlet to the plane. The farm has a capacity of 870,000 gallons of aviation fuel. Watching over all of this activity, authorizing landings and takeoffs, is the control tower. Here, a staff of highly trained men of the Federal Aviation Administration guide planes on and off the field. In addition to the staff here, there is a complex of electronic aids located one floor below. Here, shrouded in the darkness radar requires, the controllers skillfully monitor the traffic pattern in a 25-mile radius on surveillance radar. Approach radar is used to bring pilots into the field's instrument landing system. In yet another section of the field, the FAA Air Route Traffic Control Center keeps a careful scrutiny of a web of aerial highways that cover 80,000 square miles of the Midwest. These operators handle an average of 825 flights a day, for a total of over 300,000 flights a year. Each plane flying on instruments is watched over by a controller who keeps constant track of its movements. An interlocking element of the Air Route Traffic Control Center is located in the airport's old terminal building, which is still very much in use. This is the FAA's St. Louis Radio Flight Service Station, which is the local link in the vast radio net that serves the control center. Also using the old terminal is another government agency, the Weather Bureau. Formerly located in downtown St. Louis, the Bureau now operates entirely at Lambert Field. Here, the readings that are our official weather are taken. But there is more to the Bureau's activities than this. The complete national weather picture is constantly being updated as new maps are transmitted over the Bureau's countrywide facsimile circuit, which catalogs the relentless march of cold and warm fronts across the country. Much of the weather information originated and relayed at the Bureau is of prime concern to the airlines. Lambert Field, in the interest of safety, maintains a complete fire department which is constantly on alert. When a call comes, they're on the move. Within seconds, they're in their trucks and on the way. In aircraft fires, as in perhaps no others, speed is a necessity. The first seconds after a crash are the crucial time. Every 2 weeks, the men hold a realistic drill using the hulk of a burned-out F-84 fighter, which has been drenched with hundreds of gallons of aviation fuel. This drill is as deadly serious to these men as if this were the real thing and there was a man trapped in the cockpit. The giant foam trucks are the key to quick dousing of the fire. Curiously enough, one of the ingredients of this potent fire extinguisher is dried animal blood. During the course of a year, the 31 men of the airport fire unit answer about 500 calls, any of which could be a major calamity. The men are members of the St. Louis City Fire Department, but are paid from the airport budget. They all have been specially trained in the art of fighting aircraft fires. In addition to fire protection, like any other city, Lambert Field has its own police force, augmented by officers of the county police department. This skyport, with all its varied elements for the safety, service, and convenience of the air traveler, is a complex operation, a city in miniature, a city in a constant state of change and expansion. We talked with the man in charge of all this, David Lee, the airport manager, about what the future holds for Lambert Field. Dave, nothing seems to stand still out here at Lambert Field. There's always something going on, and of course a lot of improvements have been made. Tell us about your new runway out here.
Well, we're real pleased about that, Bruce. This new runway is 4,600 feet long, 150 feet wide, about 13 inches thick. It'll handle the heaviest airplane we have flying now. At its present length of 4,600 feet, it'll be used mostly for executive-type aircraft. But we are able to extend it to 6,000 feet, and we'll probably do that within another 2 or 3 years. We're real pleased with this. This is an added safety thing that we've needed here. As the traffic increases, we have to have some place to take care of these additional aircraft.
Of course, as the traffic increases and the runways are lengthened, you have to acquire more land, too, don't you?
This is always a problem, and the federal government recognizes this as well, because they're going to participate with us in acquiring land at the ends of the longest runway, land at the end of this new runway. This has to be done. It's a safety factor. The airport is 100% toward the safety end first. This comes first with us.
Instrument landing systems, of course, are comparatively new, and I understand you're going to expand in that area, too.
That's right. That is right. Runway 24 is the runway now that has the instrument landing system. We will have a new instrument landing system on another runway, on the longest runway, probably within about a year. Now, as part of this program, we have to tear down 5 or 6 hangars. One of those hangars that we have to tear down, although it was only built about 10 years ago, is Ozark Airlines.
I see.
So we will and are committed to build a new hangar, a new headquarters, a new office building for Ozark Airlines.
The big terminal building behind you here, is there any plans for that?
Yes. Yes. First, we like to think of all the needs of safety. This is top priority. I can't say that too often. But at the same time, we have an obligation to the traveling public for their comfort and their convenience. So, I would think that within less than a year, we will start seeing an extension on to the present terminal building, another shell, another module, and this will take about 2 years to build. But at the same time, another part is going to be added. We're going to have a lower level driveway that will make it more convenient for passengers arriving who will claim their bags, walk right through from the baggage claim room into the lower level driveway. This will be a more efficient, more comfort for these traveling
people. You're going to allow passenger cars to go down there,
that's right.
Lambert Field continues to change, expand, and improve its services as it has since 1928, when it was purchased by the city. Right now, you are watching Lambert Field in action. In the next 2 minutes, the KTVI cameras compress time and show how all the elements at Lambert converge with split-second accuracy to do their job. The transcontinental jet has landed, and within 30 minutes, it'll be back in the air, serviced, loaded with fuel, passengers, baggage, food, and cargo. A crew of men clean the interior. The baggage begins its race to rejoin its owners. The jet engines have their oil supplies topped off. The pilot takes advantage of the break to check weather conditions and operational memos. The wing tanks are readied for fuel. From the flight kitchens comes the food. Air freight is loaded. The food truck disgorges its load into the compact cabin kitchen's electric heaters and coolers. By now, the fuel is being forced up under pressure into the tanks. The already packaged baggage arrives. By now, part of the job is done, and some elements pull out. While the activity continues, the passengers board the plane. With the aircraft ready to go and about to use its own power, the surface power and cooling connections are severed. With everyone on board, the plane is sealed. Clearance is received from the tower, and the flight is on its way. And that's Lambert St. Louis Municipal Airport. Many components, many of them quite costly, that make up the whole. The sum total is transportation geared to the second half of the 20th century. Lambert Field and its fellow skyports, with their ever-lengthening runways and increasingly modern buildings, these cities of the sky are symbols of the age of today and tomorrow, the time of the hurry up. We've come pretty far in the span of one lifetime, and during the next one, we'll go ever further. We'll go as far and as fast as the minds of men can carry us.